The most powerful tool in Chinuch is stories. We all know. One of the powerful stories of the Frierdiker Rebbe's Chinuch is where his father said to him that you're supposed to say Moida Ani a certain way. After he had been saying it for years, when he was 5 or 6, his father told him that when you say Moida Ani, you have to sit up and put your hands together and bow your head, and that's how you say Moida Ani. So the Frierdiker Rebbe said, why? I'm sure you know the story. So the Rebbe Ashab called in the Meshuris, the guy who worked in the house, who was a man in his 80s, and he asked him, how do you say Moida Ani? So he said, you sit up and you put your hands together and you bow your head. That's how you say Moida Ani? So that Ashab said, why do you do it that way? So the man said, that's how my father told me. So the Rebbe said to the Frierdiker Rebbe, you see, here is a man who has lived through so much. He has witnessed so much, has seen so much. And for him it's enough that his father told him that that's how you do it, so he's been doing it that way for 80 years. And you're only 6 years old. It's not enough for you that your father told you that this is the way you do it? What is the meaning of this story? Why the whole charade? Just answer the question. Why do you have to sit up when you say Moida Ani? It's respectful. Why do you bow your head? Humility. These are not difficult things to explain. So why the whole charade? And then in the end, what's the answer to his question? There's a certain quality that a child has that he can lose as he gets older. And in general, in Chinuch, there's like a very subtle distinction that has to be made in that you want the child to outgrow all his childish behavior, but you never want him to lose his childlike behavior. That's what the Rebbe says, Chanech lenar al pi darkei. If you teach a child the way he needs to be taught, gam ki yaskin la yasser mimenu. It will remain with him all his life. And the Rebbe asks, what's good about that? Whatever you teach a child should not remain the same all his life. He should grow, he should become. The Pasuk is talking about childlike qualities. You should never lose those. Childish, that has to go. So there's a very subtle distinction being made here. You're paring away, you're cutting away the childishness, but never damaging the childlikeness. There's something a child has, which is the ability to appreciate fact. A young child who says, you're walking down the street and the child says, why is the tree there? And you say, the Eibishter put it there. He's happy. Because you gave him the fact. What is that? That's a cow. Okay, so it's a cow. He's happy. He knows what it is. There's a certain appreciation for what's what. As a child gets older, he starts to introduce opinion, theory, like when a child says, well, why do I have to if he doesn't have to? So he's becoming a philosopher. Until then, if you have to, you have to. Now all of a sudden, well, how come he doesn't have to? That's losing a little bit of the childlike quality. When the Frierdiker Rebbe asked, why do you have to say Meidani that way? His father didn't want to answer the question. Because here the issue was not a reason for a minhag. Here the issue was, what's more important, the fact or the explanation? If you know that this is the right way, isn't that the most important piece of information? What else do you need to know? Why is it the right way? In your free time, if you have nothing else to do, sit down and figure it out. What's the difference? You already know it's right. It's not going to get any better, because right is right. Emes is emes. So the Rebbe wanted to nurture in his son the appreciation for, if you know right, then you know everything. So he called in the old man, and he said to him, why do you say Meidani that way? And the man said to him, because it's the right way. Why else? Who told you it's the right way? My father. We had an interesting experience with a family in Minnesota where there was one daughter in the family who was out of town in school. While she was out of town, the rest of the family became more involved with Yiddishkeit. And towards the end of the year, the father passed away. So of course they wanted to do the funeral halachically, kedas or kedin. So they had the rabbis taking care of the whole thing. This daughter came in, and she was shocked. She didn't recognize her family. What's these rabbis running around, and what's with these customs and with these prayers that they Hebrew? She was very uncomfortable and let everybody know how uncomfortable she was. During the Shiva one day, she said, I know I was very, very difficult during the funeral, but you understand, this was all new to me. It came as a shock. I didn't know what was going on. But I want to tell you, it feels so good to know that my father was buried the right way. She says, I don't know how you guys know what the right way is. I don't know why this is the right way. But I'm really glad that my father was buried the right way. Now I could have said to her, you have an hour? Let's sit down and we'll go through the halachas and see why that's the right way. She really didn't care. She wasn't interested in the philosophy of it. She was pleased that it was done right. In other words, there's a certain appreciation for the simple right is right, true is true, got to do what you got to do, and that's the most important thing. A big part of chinuch is cultivating in a child an appreciation for what is true, for what is emes, for what is good, for what is right, for what is edel. That's chinuch. Why is that chinuch? Because a child is born without edelkeit, without right, without rules. A 1-year-old, a 2-year-old is out of control. They appreciate what tastes good. That's about it. So you have to be mechanech them to appreciate the better, the more important, the more finer things in life.